Hey everyone, thanks again for joining me in another video. It's another dungeon guide and character build. So today we'll be going over one of my favorite builds in the game that I'm currently playing. I said I would never do it, but I'm playing a Necro with herding, with barding. I found so far this build is insanely fun. It's insanely strong. Granted, I have 23 links, but as a newer player, you can still take advantage of this build. It is a castless or almost castless mage build. All right, so Forsaken Keep is also no pushover of a dungeon. I'd say it's one of the more difficult, if not the most difficult dungeon we currently have, other than the back of SSC2. There are Pontiff style mobs, there are Spectral Terror style mobs, mobs that bleed and disease and poison. There's a boss room in the middle of the dungeon, and it's plagued with PKs. So let's get right to it, guys. So first things first, let's go over the build real quick. I'm just going to leave this up on the screen for you guys to see. So if you're interested in the build by the end of the video, jump back to the beginning of the video here. Take a look at the echo on the left. That's the exact skill setup I'm using. This is the chain I'm using currently. If you have, around 10 links, 5 to 10 links, in this scenario, if you were going to go this specific build, I would recommend starting with the effective barding skill. The quality of life involved in landing Discord attempts is through the roof. I can't tell you how much of a pain it is to try and Discord a demon 6 to 7 times for you just to kill it before you get a successful Discord attempt off on it. So I highly recommend getting at least a few bronze effective barding links, running an exceedingly or higher instrument, and don't forget your crook if you're doing this. All right, so typically I'd start off in the city. I'm going to do it a little different today by starting off at one of the three. Yes, there are 3 entrances to Forsaken Keep. We'll start off on the east side as it's the closest entrance to a town. In this case, it's South Pervalia. So I don't recommend you newer players come on in here and try out Forsaken Keep unless you're incredibly confident in your skills, your build, how long you've been playing UO for. You will die if you're not a high aspect or don't have the proper build for it. So that was the east entrance right back there. And as you can see, it's taken me about 10 seconds to run to Southern Pervalia. If you want to just run straight here, feel free. Hit a ruined library. Or honestly, if you're a new player, don't bother with this, guys. I can't recommend this dungeon to you as a new player. Maybe if you're playing my Death Necro starter build and you can let the pets do the work for you. I just don't think you're going to be winning kills in here. And you'll be running into reds frequently. As you can see, people just sit here and scope it out. All right, so let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm going to go ahead and show you a variety of different summons that I use. Most of these are maxed out in the Summoner's Tome. So as I use them, I'll pull them up and show them to you. Let's start off with... Everyone's going to be like, why are you using air elementals? I understand. With this build, though, they're fun, guys. Every summon type you throw out here is going to be effective with this. This is why I like it so much. You can play air elementals, demons, earth, water, fire, blade spirit, summon creature, energy vortexes, all of it. They're all going to do well for you with this specific setup here. Always get them in the undead form, the necro form. I don't bother with standard earth elemental or any standard summons at all. They don't benefit from your necromancy, so what's the point in having it? So if you do go this build, make sure that you hit the barding buff on the ground, get it on your pets, and let's get started. So I'm going to herd my pets onto the first mob. That being the guardsman, you're going to want to watch out for the special ability of the guardsman, which is a cleave like execute that will apply a strong bleed on you. So don't be standing in front of him when he raises his axe. The other mob here we have is a knight. I believe it does some form of just large halberd hit or maybe a shield bash, unless that's the guardsman. They all have varying types of abilities. None of them are too scary until we get further into the dungeon. So as you can see, the pets are taking some damage, but for a high-end dungeon, it's pretty good, guys. Air elementals are pretty squishy. They're not supposed to be able to sit here and take that kind of damage. All right, so I got a successful bard attempt on it. It's already taken some damage. I'm going to pain spike it now. Cool thing about this build with the barding and death is it all increases that pain spike damage. Pain spiking for 1500 is great. Most mobs, it's at least a third of their health, nearly. All right, so Cool thing about Forsaken Keep is it's only the size of a level 3. So if you've been down to Aegis Keep level 3, you'll understand what I'm getting at here. So these mobs are unique event mobs. If you can kill it before it disappears, you'll get its loot. But by the time it disappears, it's going to summon a new mob. It's going to be some form of visage of your character or summoned character or ally. So here we have a Craven Visage of a Panda. So I'm going to stick my mobs on it, discord it, and stay at a distance. As you guys can see it here, it acts just like one of the flesh demons from Moz 3 and 2.5, where it'll throw out this puke of body parts, I guess like Lord Bile too, and then just explode them all over you. Don't stand it. So as you can see, I'm not successfully barding every mob in here, and I have 110, 110 disco and music, along with a few links. And even then, I'm not getting successful barding attempts off every time. Cool thing about this dungeon as well, guys, is the mob density is fairly good, along with the value of each mob. You're hard pressed to find mobs that aren't going to drop at least 800 to 1,000 gold to kill. So the Dough Golem here, its unique ability is a form of lethal poison. I haven't seen it apply yet. Let's see if I can pull it. There it is, right there as we speak. I'm going to go ahead and pull it closer to a corpse here, hit it with a pain spike, cleanse my Skeletal Fiend. And I know I said cast list, no casting. Every now and then, sure, go for it. But you're not going to be sitting here pumping flame strikes or anything else into mobs. You may want to. Let's assume that you're competing for a mob and someone else has a strong character. You may want to pop all of your Necro abilities, and being that you're a Death Necro, they benefit from your effective necromancy. So even if you're only hitting for 50 damage with the lightning, if you're spamming that with the disease ticks and it's rolling, you're going to be putting out some good extra damage on the side there. All right, so now that the Skeletal Fiends, you've seen these guys here in action. They ignore armor. They have a bonus to swing speed, and let's go ahead and pull that up now before I get rid of them real quick. This is what I run for my Skeletal Fiends, which are the air elementals. I want them to ignore armor, I want them to cleave, I want them to swing fast, and I want them to land their hits. Summoned units that use melee abilities do suffer from a lack of accuracy, so some of these abilities here will increase that accuracy. Let me see which one it is, though. Might be Tempest ignores armor, Microburst increases your attack speed, and Gale increases your accuracy. There it is. So these guys are great for multiple mobs. They're great in general when you have them built up with this specific build. As you could see when I landed the Barding Discord attempt on it, and they're in full swing. Their average hits right around 190 damage, and they're cleaving with it. It's great. I really am a fan of the Air Elemental with this build. Any other build? Not so much. This one? Absolutely. All right, so next mobs we're going to use are Summon Demons. Interesting thing about Summon Demons, depending on how you build them out, is their damage is nuts. It's better than the Lich. It's better than the Air Elemental. It adds up, but it's an over the time kind of thing. Their special ability is every 30 seconds, they gain a 5% damage bonus that stacks up to a certain amount. Let's go ahead and get into the Demon book here. Growing Fury. The ability that increases their damage over time is Fury. This takes the maximum up to 75% instead of the flat base 25%. So after 7.5 minutes, demons are going to be doing 75% more damage. What I like about the demons is when you set them to ranged, all they do is cast spells, and their spells hit harder than their melee does. They miss their melee swings as well. They're not missing with their spells. All right, so once again, buff them defensively and move on. All right, so my guys aren't going to be hitting too hard yet. I'm going to stay clear of that real quick. If you're familiar with SSE2, I believe the Icon of Fear is similar to a Pontiff in that it will shoot those large purple orbs of doom, maybe? I think that's what they are. They AoE, hit from a distance, hit multiple people. You don't want to be near them if you can avoid it. All right, I'm just going to show you guys this myself, but let's let them be the guinea pigs. Why not? So they hit a teleporter up in this corner up here in the upper left. It's an invisible teleporter. It takes you to where they are now, killing the living weapon. As they step forward after that living weapon's dead, they're going to jump over here to this section. From there, they hit the next platform in this section. Just step to whichever other tile, and they will end up right down here. This location has one more hidden teleporter that takes you over here to 2 different locations. One takes you out, back over to here. Let me get out of his way. The other one takes you to a hidden room that is event-based. There was an event when this dungeon initially opened up in 2022. You had to do a bunch of riddles, locked and secret doors, find some keys, answer some questions, and then kill a boss at the end. It was pretty cool. It was for much smarter people than myself, though. I didn't take part. I think it took a couple weeks for people to get through it. Cool thing about those teleporters, though, guys. Let's say a red's chasing you and your exits are blocked off. There's mobs everywhere. You're not really sure where to go. If you can find your way through this maze, you can hit this right here. Let's see, where is this? Right there underneath my cursor, there is a bloody bowl and a dagger. If you double click that dagger, it's going to apply a bleed effect to you. It's not much damage, don't worry about it, but it will pop a red moon gate, a dungeon moon gate. If you need to get out, hit those teleporters as fast as possible, run over to that dagger, trigger that bleed, hit that gate, get out safe, right? Quick exit. All right, let's continue through the dungeon. The next room we're going to come upon after this visage of cowardice here is the boss room. The boss room is no joke. I do not recommend going into the boss room unless you have a group of players or you are incredibly confident with your build and experienced with it. I'd say it is probably the most difficult section of all dungeons, including the one in OS 3 with the 2 spectral tears, the Anubites, including the back of SSC2. I will die solo more in this room than any other location. It's usually not because you played it wrong. It's just the density of the mobs, how strong they are, and how many there are in such a small location. So I'm going to show you guys how to get in there real quick and explain this visage here to you. This visage here is one of 2 types that will apply a disease by applying a ground effect underneath you. I believe this type here summons a hand similar to a Fen Demon with its poison that will pop up and trigger a large disease on you. It's pretty strong. It should tick for around 30 to 40 per tick, so be careful. Try not to get hit by it. The other visage that roams around also does a type of disease effect. In this case, like the Blightwalkers in Ossuary 3, it throws some body parts on the ground. Those body parts trigger after 2 seconds and apply a disease to everyone within a small AoE radius of those body parts. So in this case, careful with the visages. If you have a way to reduce disease damage, absolutely do it. Be careful of these marksmen here. They are just like SSC2 marksmen. They will chunk you with that barrage-like ability. But again, as you guys can see, I've had the demons up for 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. They're already hitting for in the 200s with their spells on average. It only gets better from there, guys. As time goes on, they'll start hitting for an average of 330 to 350, upwards of 450. And yeah, with demons, you're going to want to heal them, but that's as much as you need to do. Heal them and Pain Spike. As time goes on with Necro pets, in case you're not aware, they lose maximum health. So my demons, for instance, start with roughly 900 health. Pretty good, right? Well, after about 15 minutes, they're down to 300-ish, so they die pretty quick. However, if you can keep them at a distance, let's see which one this is here real quick. This is the hand like a Fen Demon. You can't really avoid that one if it's targeted on you. I do have a disease on me now. That's what it is. If you can keep your demons at a distance and out of harm's way, even if they have low health, they're still going to perform incredibly well. Big fan of the demons. A lot of people like running double lich. I get it. It's consistent. You can just summon them back up. They'll barrage. They'll do plenty of damage. But overall, demons are more DPS. I find they're good on bosses as well. Don't hesitate to use this build on bosses, guys. Death Necro is great. I think it's in a great spot. Okay, so again, boss room below. High density. I'm not going to show you how to handle it today. I really don't feel like doing that on video. I'm liable to die in that room. But the idea is you open that up with the dagger and the bloody bowl. If you see on the bottom left where my mouse is right now, the cursor there. If you double click that, just like that escape area, you'll take a bleed. It'll pop the door open for about 3 seconds, rush on in there. I recommend going to the bottom right, the room that's down here where I'm highlighting now, killing whatever mobs aggro you in there, and then building yourself an area of safety and then working your way up through there. If the Emperor's Madness is up, I don't recommend going in here alone unless it's in the back, like one of these rooms back here. But as it's standing in the very middle right now, you're likely going to get aggro from that and everything else in the room. not worth it at that point, guys. The Emperor's Madness is no joke. It's like a pontiff on steroids. It's throwing out purple balls of doom, hitting you for half your health. The thing's got hundreds of thousands of health. It's got a lot of armor because these units are ghost phantom-like units, just like in SSE2. And one thing to look out for, up here, that cowardice that we just killed that applies a disease, if it triggers up here and you're in this room below, underneath this bridge right here, if you're under this bridge and that cowardice is up and fighting someone, that disease will hit you from above while you're below. Careful with that. That will kill you. It's killed plenty of people. I see it happen all the time. Try not to stand under that bridge if other people are up there. All right. So this other section here, where the north entrance is where the archaeologians are. And there's Sir J. Sir J is a good guy. I like Sir J. And they disease these archaeologians. They're not the hardest mobs in the game here. They're actually fairly simple to kill. They have a little bit more health. The disease is nothing to scoff at, 20 damage a hit, but of every mob in here, these are probably the easiest. Probably. All right, so now that you guys have seen these demons hitting for 300 damage here and there, I'm going to go ahead and let go of them real quick, switch over to mummies to show you some reflect damage as we continue to work our way through. But just keep in mind, the longer the demons are up, as long as you have that extra fury talent, the better they're going to do. I really enjoy the demon play. Yeah, only 500 something gold on those archaeologists. Not really worth it, right, guys? I mean, if the rest of the dungeon's farmed to that, it definitely is, or you're farming fast enough to clear things. All right, so let's go ahead and open up the Earth Elemental. A lot of people like to go the standard Earth Elemental. I get it. I really do. It's a little bit tankier, right? Because it doesn't lose that health over time. You just have to constantly Spirit Speak to keep it up. I understand that. But guys, the damage output from the mummy far exceeds the Earth Elemental. I haven't even got this thing barded yet. Once I do, though, you'll see what I'm talking about. So that's not barded, and it's reflecting 146. Yeah, effective bard links, guys. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so the reflect damage from there looked like it was roughly 183. Yeah, 183 per tick. It's only hitting the one mummy. This isn't an AoE ability. So the reflect's only really triggering from the one mummy. Let's say it was an AoE ability, you would see 183 4 times instead. But as you can see, 2 tank pets in the form of a mummy took down a dead weapon, no problem, utilizing reflect. 1,700 gold as well. So that's not an easy mob, guys. That's just a good setup. All right, so this is the west exit here. Over here, similar to the east entrance where we came in. The mobs are roughly the same. Guardsmen, axemen, archers. I think there's a phantom horse up there as well that applies a disease. And that's Forsaken Keep in a nutshell, guys. I do want to show you a little bit more play with the mummies if possible. And then from there, I'll bring up the Lich just to give you an idea of what to expect with Lich. So it looks like they're going to go for the Icon of Fear. I believe that's the Terrify one. Don't like that. Oh, don't kill me, my pets. Almost killed myself there. All right, so let's go ahead and get on the Living Weapon. And then from there, we'll get on the one with Disease after we get them both barded. I don't know how many of you guys play Summoners, but if you do end up going this build, you've never played a Mage before, pro gamer tip. I don't like the way that sounds, but I have bound target self to my scroll wheel, and let's say I get jumped by a stealth red. What I'll be doing is spam healing, whether it's mini heal, greater heal. It all depends on the scenario. If I see them loading up with Explode, they've got, you know, telekinesis applied to me and they're about to pull up an E-Bolt, I'm throwing up a greater heal real quick. The best thing about that is with the scroll wheel being target self, I'm not dragging my mouse around. I'm already running around like so, and I cast a greater heal, and then I just spam scroll wheel, and I'm healing through it. So again, with mini heal, same deal. Easy to get away, guys. It's really a lot better than you think. I really enjoy the scroll wheel for targeting myself. Same thing with Cure, invisibility, anything you want to apply to yourself, that scroll wheel is helping out. It's much faster than finding another key on your keyboard, in my opinion, or just targeting your health bar with your mouse. I can't do that anymore. I can't drag and drop a cursor on a target. I try my best to find keybinds for everything at this point. All right, let's take a look at the Lich real quick, and then that will be the final summon we look at. I don't really think Water Elemental's worth using. You can, as a tank, it's fine. In the form of a undead pet, though, I think it comes out as like a drowned banshee type thing. Just not a huge fan of it. It's not bad. I just don't prefer to use it. All right, so typically if I'm running double DPS, I'll also throw up a summoned creature. I hope to get Rotting Flesh. I'm still working on this specific tree within my Summoner's Tome, so I don't have all the beneficial skills picked out yet. But I do get tanky pets often enough. All right. So I've spec'd for Barrage with my Lich. Let's go ahead and show you that real quick. Lich Barrage, when I barter targets, typically hitting for 155 to 156, depending on the crook, what links I'm using at the time, how much resist the mobs have. You can see the spells hit fairly decent too, you know, low to mid 100s, sometimes above 200. It's fairly consistent damage as well. And as you can see, plenty tanky. If you're looking at the health in the top right, as a herder with barding, I'm reducing the damage they take from the ground buff, reducing the damage they take by barding the unit, and as a herder they take reduced damage. More necromancy, I think the stronger they get. Overall, the synergy with this build is great. Really enjoy it. I can't recommend it enough. I think this is the next step for most average players who enjoy the Summoner template but don't really want to sit there and cast Flame Strike Lightning. This is the build for you. As you can see, I'm barely casting. It's incredibly versatile as well. It can handle any dungeon. Definitely one of my favorite builds in the game. And I said I would not play a Bard. I would not play a Summoner. I would not play a Tamer. I'm going to be a Dexer for my career on Outlands. Yet here I am, sicking pets on things and playing my little instrument at people. It's been great so far. All right, well, that's Forsaken Keep, guys. If you have any questions or suggestions on where to do another dungeon guide or what build to highlight next, feel free to hit me up. YouTube comments, Discord DMs. And guys, seriously, I enjoy helping out. I really, really like this server. A lot of people have been struggling lately, whether it's the reds, the overcrowded dungeons, people losing interest. I get it. You know, I go through that too. Take breaks, enjoy the game while you can. If you want some help farming, just need some company, feel free to DM me. I'm more than happy to go, run a couple farm sessions with you, spitball your build, help you build out your keybinds for PvP, give you ideas on what hybrid templates to play where you could be effective at farming and effective at PvP. DM me, hit me up in game, say hi, do a little spin, and I'll see you guys around. Until the next video, have a good one.